Last time on Guild Wars 2, Scarlet! And now we continue. Hi there everyone. This is now part 4 of my journey, my experience of Guild Wars 2 from the viewpoint of someone that's probably played far too much Final Fantasy XIV. When I first hopped into Guild Wars 2, I had some expectations. Some were right, others were wrong, and a lot of surprises happened. So let's do a quick summary. From playing through the base game to the first post-game content, Living World Season 1, which is probably a good thing that I waited so long to try this game, as Season 1 was ripped out apparently long ago and just recently put back in. Now that I get to experience that, I believe I'm able to experience the full game. The base game surprised me quite a bit with its different type of questing, how it's much more exploration focused, something I've definitely neglected, and how the story was presented. Not only was it all a nice change of pace, but it also took what I expected the game to be and just pile drove it into the ground. Then, the first major post-game content released for Guild Wars 2, Living World Season 1. While it did have quite a bit of challenging content in it, I'm super glad that I experienced the story from it, meeting new characters, seeing how they roll, and forming the Walmart Destiny's Edge. Trademark. Alright, that's my overall experience in a nutshell up to that point. So, how was my experience in Season 2? I loved it. Alright, so let me explain. I love long stories, even better when they get added onto over time. Lots of people love this kind of storytelling, it's why sequels are so popular in the movie industry. Just look at the MCU. But my question to this is, what helps make a continuing story great? Build up. If you build up an interesting story, it tends to have a good, satisfying payoff at the climax. Living World Season 2 is all build up. While that might not be very interesting to some people, I did happen to play through Final Fantasy XIV, which has a ton of build up in its story that gives very satisfying payoffs in later expansions. Season 2 here is precisely that. It's build up for its first expansion, Heart of Thorns. So I will admit that Season 1 is a more complete story, but it was also a build up for what was to come. In Season 1, you had the main antagonist, Scarlet Briar. She was the driving force behind the entire story from start to finish, starting with you meeting new comrades, to meeting Scarlet closer to the halfway point of the season, all the way to the finale where she's taken down with a teaser for what's to come. It's complete with a beginning, middle, and end. In Season 2, the main antagonist never physically shows up at all. That's because Season 2's climax is the first expansion, Heart of Thorns. At least, that's what it seems like as of now since I haven't played the expansion yet. So, with an entire season dedicated to build-up, how was my experience through it? Well, here it is. Starting up Season 2 for the first time, right off the heels of the first expansion, I was expecting a similar level of difficulty in all the combat. Turns out, it's actually easier. Coming from the teaser that was an Elder Dragon being awakened by Scarlet, the themes of this content were very similar to that of the base game, preparing to fight an Elder Dragon. The difference this time being that the pact already exists, so there's more than half of the base game's story of time already finished. If you look at two forms of content that have the same themes, typically you might get bored the second time as it feels like the second run of the same story. But that's where I think this season's strengths lie. It might be a similar concept, but there's a big mystery that's been building up in the background with the Sylvari. It was foreshadowed in Season 1 with Scarlet, and you get some of the answers in this season about that. So it's not just one straight story. There's mystery and intrigue, characters with varying agendas, and groups and factions that you need to get to work together. It's adding a fair amount of politics with adventuring and a boss at the end. But we never end up getting to see the boss. The Elder Dragon Mordramoth is the big bad of this story. Alright, with all that talk of build-up out of the way, how was the journey? Here's the rundown of Vladathar's experience. After Scarlet kicked the bucket, Vladathar, the human warrior, decided to take it easy by jumping straight back into the fire. Heading west, and even further west, we finally reach an area where my single mount can't traverse easily. So we then use these colorful rocks to jump high or vault over perilous cliffs to make it to even further west. All this as an investigation to find out what happened to a crashed ship and what we're going up against with the newly awakened Elder Dragon. Vladathar even stumbled across Scarlet's first evil lair and then had amnesia when we found it again later in the story. This only happened because I missed the dead body I was supposed to notice. Also, evil Salad Man boss fight. The group then splits up to do different things. I help out Jory and Cass to save Jory's sister's fort. After working our way to the other side of the fort, we then get an emotional scene with Jory. Side note, ghosts can do some weird shit. So there was this machine that made Scarlet go insane. Naturally, we took the proper precautions around it to ensure nothing bad could happen to anyone. Vladathar go on trippy trip. Alright, so now that we've successfully opened our mind, we now understand basic math and that everyone is in danger. After pulling some strings to get all the race leaders together, like helping them out and going to parties and timing running away, everyone gets attacked in the summit at a very convenient time to help convince them all to work together. Also, there's a dragon who's no match for... Oh, I died. Now, Vladathar finds himself in a new trippy place. So, who in the world is Glint? Oh, perfect timing for some very needed exposition.
As noble as any Crichton, she loved humans, except when they tried to steal her eggs.
Mechanics. So now we're on a quest to go get an egg, likely to make an omelet before the big Elder Dragon fight or something. Sorry, Logan, we can't join you in the fight against the Elder Dragon. Find the egg, Kaith steals the egg, now we need to find Kaith. In order to do so, we talk to the weakened Pale Tree, who just loves to give us even more trippy visions where we live out Kaith's life trying to find her. Sorry, Logan, we can't join you in the fight against the Elder Dragon. Meanwhile, Vladathar needs to go to the hospital due to puncturing his face. Now that looks painful. At the end of the season, we finally find her, only to be attacked by the dragon again. Time to show them why they lost last time, right? Nah, it's mechanics time again. What do you mean Kaith ran off again? Cue Heart of Thorns teaser. And that's Vladathar's experience from start to finish. This was all to combat Mordramoth, who we never saw in the game yet. There's still quite a few questions left unanswered. Questions such as, what do we do with the egg when we get it? Why has Kaith run off yet again? How bad are the casualties from the pact? And is Vladathar's hair naturally that yellow, or does he dye it? Since there wasn't a big climactic clash with Mordramoth, the story has only gone up in terms of all the tension buildup. Add the teaser from Heart of Thorns into it, and the expansion is something I'm very much looking forward to experiencing. I really enjoyed how Season 2 went overall. Just like the last season, it's very nice being at level 80 and being able to run all the quests immediately, rather than having to level up like in the base game. Each episode took me between 1 to 2 hours to complete. So with 8 episodes, it was a nice bunch of content to work through. Easily done in a few sittings. The base game is strong enough to stand on its own. The tension is at an all-time high, and I do like being a part of a New Age Destiny's Edge team. Both Living Worlds Season 1 and 2 were leading into Heart of Thorns. The base game with Zaitan was its own thing, but still had things set up in it helpful for having a lot of the work already done for the Pact, so they could focus on regrouping, gaining strength, and going to fight Mordramoth. Because the Pact already existed from the base game, it's not something we needed to do in the seasons, so the writers could focus on making them a more compact and cohesive story. And boy, was that teaser a tease.
You can't trust Sylvari. They belong to the dragon now. Stop treating us like monsters. We are not the enemy.
So with all that said, I have been told that Heart of Thorns is very tough without a group. If anyone here would be interested in going through the expansion with me, or even just doing the meta events, I have a Discord server link in the description of this video. I'm interested to see how the glider gameplay is, and to see how the story pays off. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Adios.